On our wedding anniversary, my husband gave me a 3-carat, flawless diamond ring, worth $1 million. I felt bad that he was spending so much money on me when his startup was just beginning to take off. So I took the ring to return it, but I was told that while he did buy $1 million ring, the one in my hand was a fake. I stood there, dumbfounded, holding the ring, the sales associate's words blurring into a meaningless hum. The only phrases that echoed in my mind were, "Mr. Vance did indeed purchase $1 million 3-carat ring from us, but it wasn't this one, although they look identical. Then where did the real one go?" 3 days ago was my 3rd anniversary with Ethan Vance. He mysteriously covered my eyes, then presented a red velvet box containing a ring that shimmered with rainbow light. He spoke in a deep, loving voice. "Darling, you've had to endure some tough years with me. From now on, I will only give you the very best." I was moved, but at the same time, I scolded him for spending so extravagantly on me. After all, his business was just starting to find its footing. I had seen with my own eyes all the hardship he had endured over the past 3 years. This must have been expensive, right? I asked instinctively. He reluctantly handed me the receipt. I was stunned by the string of zeros. "Are you crazy? Why would you buy something so expensive? You can't eat it or drink it." He smiled and slipped the ring onto my finger. "Silly. You're the person I love most. You deserve the best." As the memory returned, my gaze fell back on the ring in my hand. The ring from that night seemed slightly different from this one. Although I'm no diamond expert, I could clearly tell that the fire and clarity of this ring were significantly worse, even though the design was exactly the same. I remembered putting the ring in the safe that night and not touching it since. It was only this morning that I decided to return it for cash. Originally, I had no intention of selling it. Firstly, the ring was a valuable collector's item. Secondly, it was the first diamond ring Ethan had ever given me in all the time we'd known each other. But yesterday, his secretary, Chris, accidentally let it slip that Ethan's company was facing financial difficulties. Could that be why he swapped the rings? I looked up and asked the clerk, "Did my husband come in to return it?" The clerk shook her head, a strange look of pity in her eyes. "Do you know something?" I asked, confused. The clerk was about to speak when the manager standing next to her cleared her throat pointedly. The clerk shook her head again and refused to say another word. Her reaction only made me more suspicious. After leaving the jewelry store, I drove to Ethan's company, my mind churning with questions. We had founded the company together 6 months ago. He said he wanted a child. I decided to leave the business and focus on our home. But I still knew most of the employees, especially Ms. Davis in the finance department. Instead of guessing, I decided to ask her directly. But when I got to the finance department, they told me Ms. Davis had resigned. Resigned? How could that be? Ms. Davis was a founding employee. She was due to receive her stock options and dividends at the end of the year. Why would she quit now? I had to ask the other finance staff. Is the company facing some kind of difficulty? A young woman I didn't recognize shot me a dirty look. "Who are you? Stop snooping around." Just as I was about to lose my temper, Ethan arrived. "Honey, what are you doing here?" A thin sheen of sweat dotted his temples. He had clearly rushed over. I kept my voice even. "I came to ask Ms. Davis something, but they said she resigned." A flash of panic on his face. What about?" I made up an excuse. "You know that chili sauce Ms. Davis makes. You said it was amazing. Since I'm home with nothing to do, I thought I'd learn how to make it." Ethan visibly relaxed. He guided me towards the exit. "Honestly, you can never sit still. Just rest at home, and don't worry about these things." "Why did Ms. Davis quit so suddenly?" I asked. Ethan's expression was a little unnatural. He stammered, She probably wanted a change of scenery. You know how people are these days, always looking for something new." I nodded, but a heavy feeling settled in my heart. Ethan was lying. Ms. Davis was not the type of person who liked change. Otherwise, she wouldn't have stayed for a whole year back when her salary was only a few $100s a month. I remember her saying she hated writing resumes and looking for jobs. If she stuck it out for that low salary, why would she quit when her pay had risen to $20,000 a month? What was Ethan hiding from me? Just as I was about to leave, I saw a woman walk out of Ethan's office. The very same $1 million diamond ring Ethan had given me that night was sparkling on her hand. I stared at her, frozen. Ethan noticed my gaze and quickly made an introduction. This is our new secretary, Rachel Morgan. And this is your boss's wife, Ava. Rachel smiled and extended her hand, her eyes holding a barely concealed glint of mockery and provocation. Secretary Morgan. What a beautiful ring. It looks exactly like mine. Wouldn't you agree, darling? I ignored her outstretched hand and looked directly at Ethan. Oh, this old thing. It's a fake, Rachel said quickly. I just saw the gorgeous ring that Mr. Vance bought for you, and I was so envious that I bought a knock-off to play with. Ethan chimed in immediately. Yes, hers is a fake. The one you have is one of a kind. He then tried to change the subject. Look at you. I buy you $1 million diamond, and instead of wearing it, you let it collect dust in a safe while you admire a fake on someone else's hand. The word fake exploded silently in my chest like a clap of thunder. I forced a smile. Wow, the fakes these days are incredibly good. This one sparkles even more than the one you gave me. Honey, where did you buy it? Secretary Morgan. I've been too afraid to wear the one Ethan gave me. Maybe I'll buy a fake to wear around too. Rachel was clearly not expecting this question. The triumphant look on her face faltered. Oh, I bought it from a street vendor. Where? Well, seeing that Rachel was struggling, Ethan quickly interrupted. Oh, come on, Mrs. Vance. You have the real thing. Why would you buy a fake? You're just trying to embarrass your husband. I suddenly laughed. Just kidding. I'll go home and put it on right now. I'll even show it to Sophia to make her jealous. It's from my husband. After all. What? At the mention of Sophia's name, the color drained from Ethan's face. Sophia was our college classmate and my best friend. Her family owned several jewelry stores, and she was an expert on diamonds. With Sophia, it's like taking a counterfeit to a master appraiser. It has nowhere to hide. What's wrong? Why the big reaction? Ethan shook his head. When are you going? I'll drive you. No need. You should work. I can go by myself later. Ethan grabbed my arm. Let's go together. I haven't seen Sophia in a while either. We can have a little reunion. I thought you never liked Sophia. What's with the change of heart? What are you talking about? He squeezed my hand, his touch warm and doting. She's your best friend. Even if I don't like her, I have to make an effort for you. Right. He was always like this, putting me first in everything he did. Before, I would have seen this as a sign of his love. But now, fine. We'll go together tomorrow. I'm heading home for now. I was hoping to get that chili sauce recipe from Ms. Davis, but I guess that's not happening. Ethan sighed in relief and put his arm around my shoulder as he walked me out. It was the same gesture as always, but at that moment, I felt an immense distance between us. I looked at his handsome jawline, hoping, praying, that this was all a misunderstanding. However, reality always seems to move in the opposite direction. The next morning, the ring in the safe had been swapped for the real one. Its brilliant fire glittered in the sunlight, but my heart felt as if it had plunged into an abyss. I took the ring and said to Ethan, "You're so busy. Don't worry about coming. I'll go by myself." His objective had been achieved. So naturally, he was no longer interested in accompanying me. He nodded and said, "All right, then. I really am busy today." After he closed the door behind him, I put down my coffee cup and hailed a cab to Sophia's. I tossed the ring in front of her. "From Ethan. What do you think?" Sophia picked it up. "Tooting. What's this? You came all the way here just to show off. I never thought he'd be willing to buy you something this expensive. How rare." I took a deep breath and told her. "Yesterday, this ring was on his secretary's hand. He only secretly put it back after I said I was coming to see you." "What? Ethan, how dare he?" Sophia's face flushed with anger, and for a moment, I thought she was going to crush the ring in her hand. "What is going on?" My eyes suddenly reddened. I told her the whole story. Sophia was silent for a moment before asking, "What? What do you want me to do?" "I want to know the whole truth," she sighed. "And what if the truth is what you think it is? Then Ava Lancaster has been a blind fool." "Oh, Ava. To think you cut ties with your family for a man like this. Was it worth it?" I told you from the beginning. She didn't finish. But I had heard the rest of the sentence countless times before. Except, in the past, I never believed it. I only believed Ethan. On my way back from Sophia's, I suddenly saw Ethan's car. I had the driver follow him. He pulled into a high-end residential complex. Coincidentally, Ethan and I had once looked at apartments here. Not only was the environment beautiful and the layouts exquisite, but it was also zoned for the city's best schools. Of course, the price was just as high. And Ethan had said we could wait until we had children to buy a place here. So what was he doing here now? 3 hours later, I had my answer. Ethan walked out with his arm around Rachel's shoulder. Next to them was a little boy, about 7 or 8 years old. The boy's face was a miniature version of Ethan's, as if carved from the same mold. What was going on? Ethan and I had only known each other for 5 years. More and more questions clouded my mind. I called Ethan's phone. He frowned, pulled out his phone, glanced at it, and declined the call. A moment later, a text came through. In a meeting with a client. I couldn't help but laugh. A film of moisture instantly blurring my vision. After they had disappeared, the driver asked sympathetically, "Still following, miss?" I shook my head and gave him my home address. When I got home, I realized I had broken all my fingernails without even noticing. Tears streamed down my face. The searing pain, a blur of raw nail beds and a soul betrayed by the one I loved most. That night, Ethan called to say he was going on a business trip. It was only then that I realized. Ever since I quit my job 6 months ago, he had been getting busier and busier. His business trips more and more frequent. I suspected that more than half of his business trips were spent over there. In the middle of the night, I woke up with a high fever. In a daze, I called him. "Honey, I think I have a fever. Can you come back?" Faintly, I heard a woman's voice complaining on the other end. "Why is she calling you for a fever? You're not a doctor." So annoying. Why doesn't she just burn up and die? "Honey, is someone with you?" Ethan's voice was impatient. "No, you're hearing things. Ava, I'm out of state. It's not convenient. Can you call an ambulance?" "Okay," I choked out, hanging up. The moment I dialed 911, the last shred of hope I had for him shattered. The next afternoon, Ethan appeared in my hospital room with a bouquet of lilies. He brought me water, fed me, and gently tucked me in. His soft words and tender care were the envy of everyone else in the ward. They all said I had married the right man. Only I knew that this seemingly perfect marriage was rotten to the core. After some pleasantries, he took my hand, his eyes fixed on the ring on my finger. He said casually, "It looks so beautiful on you. I was afraid you'd never wear it." "Of course I would. You gave it to me. I have to wear it," I replied with a smile. He searched for another excuse. "Won't it be easy to lose it in the hospital? Maybe I should put it back in the safe for you." I chuckled. How could I lose it? It's on my hand. Is someone going to come and rip it off my finger? Well, then. He came up with a few more excuses, all aimed at getting me to take the ring off and put it away. But I deflected each one with ease. The composure on Ethan's face began to crack. A ring this expensive. It seems they're getting antsy. At the same time, the evidence Sophia had been gathering for me arrived. He had hidden it well. It turned out, Rachel and Ethan had been together since high school. Rachel had even gotten pregnant with his child in high school and dropped out for him. One sacrificed for love. The other repaid a debt of gratitude. So, I was just a pawn in their little game, wasn't I? But I didn't understand. Why did Ethan choose to be with me instead of just marrying Rachel? After being discharged, I began to investigate our joint assets. The results made me laugh. The combined balance of all our bank accounts was $8.88. But the debt under the company's name was nearly $20 million. Not only had he transferred all our assets, but he had also saddled me with $10 million in debt. What a man. That Ethan. Truly ruthless. I couldn't just sit back and let this happen. I found Ms. Davis's contact information on social media, but she had blocked me. When I tried calling, the line was always busy. I had no choice but to go to her home, relying on my memory. I only knew the general neighborhood, not her specific address, so I resorted to the most basic method, waiting. Fortunately, my efforts paid off. The next afternoon, I saw Ms. Davis picking up her child from school. Ms. Davis. She saw me, turned, and tried to hurry away. I ran to block her path. Ms. Davis. Why did you block me on social media and on the phone? And why are you avoiding me? Oh, it's Ms. Lancaster. No, I wasn't avoiding you. My number and account. My kid probably messed with them by accident. Ms. Davis. I said, looking at her seriously. You're a terrible liar. Tell me what's going on. Nothing's going on, she said, trying to pull her child away. I grabbed her arm, tears welling up in my eyes. Ms. Davis. Ethan has set me up to be over $10 million in debt. I'm about to be ruined. What? Her voice shot up an octave. How could he be so vicious? After taking her child home. Ms. Davis met me at a cafe. She sighed. Ms. Lancaster. Don't blame me, Mr. Vance forced me to block and delete all your contact information. 6 months ago, right after you resigned. He started working with a company called Vance Morgan Inc. There were always large transfers, but the specifics of the collaboration were never clear. I wanted to tell you, but Mr. Vance set a trap for me. If I didn't do as he said, I would have. After parting ways with Ms. Davis, I contacted a lawyer. After I explained the general situation, she looked at me with a grave expression. The current situation is not in your favor. If the other party claims it was a failed investment, your chances of recovering the assets are minimal, unless you have strong evidence. Her words felt like a death sentence. Ethan was a meticulous person. He always thought 3 steps ahead. How could he possibly leave a trail of evidence for me to find? But I refused to give up. These past few days, Ethan had been coming home less and less. I thought he was about to break things off with me. Instead, I got a call from Chris. Ms. Lancaster. You need to come to the hospital. Mr. Vance has a bleeding ulcer. What happened? The company's been having some trouble lately. Mr. Vance has been drinking with clients every day trying to secure investments. And then, that Ethan. He was really committed to his performance. A man willing to use such a self-harming tactic was truly. I had to see what other tricks he had up his sleeve. At the hospital, I pretended to know nothing, tears streaming down my face. Honey, what happened? How did you end up like this? You're unbelievable. The company is in trouble. And you're still buying me such an expensive ring. I pulled the ring off my finger. I'm going to Sophia's right now to sell this. She said she'd give me a better price for it. Ethan grabbed my hand, his voice weak. Darling, it's my fault I'm not capable enough. The company is $20 million in debt now. This little bit of money is just a drop in the bucket. In all these years, this is the only ring I've ever given you. Don't sell it. At worst, we'll get a divorce. And I'll go to jail. Was the $20 million debt just a tactic to pressure me? I had overestimated Ethan's conscience. His eyes reddened as he looked at me. I'm not afraid of anything, except being separated from you. Chris suddenly dropped to his knees in front of me. Ms. Lancaster, please save Mr. Vance. You must have a way, right? Chris was from Ethan's hometown, completely loyal to him, but I had never expected him to go this far. I remained silent. Ethan painfully got out of bed to pull Chris up. What nonsense are you talking about? Your boss's wife has been unemployed for 6 months. What could she possibly do? Chris, with red eyes, shouted. Ma'am, how long are you going to keep this a secret? You're the heiress of the Lancaster family. A little bit from your father could easily solve Mr. Vance's problems. Why won't you help him? You. I stared at them, stunned. How did they know? When Ethan and I first started dating, my family was strongly against it. My father said Ethan was all ambition and no ability. He wasn't good enough for me. To get my parents to accept him, I promised them I would only bring him home after he had made something of himself. For 3 years. To get my parents' approval as soon as possible. We both worked ourselves to the bone. I rarely even went home to see them. How do you know? Ethan lowered his head, not daring to look at me. He said in a low voice. Ava, I know. Your dad probably thinks I'm a failure, which is why he forced you to hide your identity and suffer with me. It's okay. I don't blame him. It's just that I'm afraid I can't walk this path with you any longer. Ms. Lancaster. Chris. Say no more. Watching their performance, it suddenly dawned on me what they were trying to do. Ethan didn't want a divorce. He wanted to use my feelings for him to get even more. I took a deep breath and decided to play along. Honey, actually, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hide it from you. I made a bet with my father that you would definitely succeed. And when you did, he would accept you. I thought the company was doing well. So after you gave me the ring, I went home and contacted him. He was planning to meet you soon. I sighed. I never thought things would turn out like this. Really? The muscles in Ethan's face twitched with excitement. I nodded. He took my hand, his eyes shining with joy. Ava, don't worry. I will definitely win your father's approval. My negotiations with the client have already softened their stance. It won't be long before the company pulls through this crisis. The world is a grand casino. The greedy are destined to lose everything. He wanted my father's approval and more money, and I wanted him to have nothing. To lower the old fox's guard, I had to be flawless in my execution. After leaving the hospital, I took a taxi back to my parents' house. The moment I walked in, I knelt on the floor. Mom, Dad, I know I was wrong. What happened? My mother rushed to help me up, her face grave. I carefully sat down next to my father and told him everything. After hearing the story, he slammed his glass on the table. That bastard. How dare he treat you like this? I'll bankrupt him right now. Dad, calm down. Calm down. How can I calm down? My usually good-natured mother was even more furious than my father. That scumbag. Even though your father didn't accept him, he's been secretly helping him all this time. Otherwise, how could two young people like you build a company like that in just 3 years? I can't believe he's not even grateful. The nerve of him. Keeping a mistress. Plotting against you. He really thinks he's something special. We can build him up. And we can tear him down. Ava Lancaster. I'm telling you, if you ever let love blind you like this again, I'll tie you up and ship you abroad. And you'll never come back. I quickly rubbed my mother's chest to help her calm down. I won't. I'm going to get my revenge myself. But I'll need your help. Dad. My parents exchanged a look inside. All right, we're getting old. You need to learn to cut away that kindness that has no principles. Go on. Do what you have to do. Ever since I told Ethan that my father was planning to meet him, he had been spending more and more time at home. Although he was on the phone a lot. The private investigator Sophia hired also made progress. It turned out, Ethan's original plan was indeed to leave me with millions in debt and divorce me. But he decided to gamble, to see if I could get my father to pay off the $20 million loan. That way, he could get even more. He never expected me to suddenly say that my father was ready to accept him, and was even considering letting him take over the family business. His ambition instantly swelled. Good. The greedy always have weaknesses. If he had stopped there, I would have had to take the loss. Honey, how's the company doing? My father's health hasn't been good these past few years, and he's been thinking about having me take over. But he doubts our abilities. My mother secretly told me that he said if we don't have 50 million in assets in the next few years, it proves we're not cut out for business. Ethan knew how much my father had secretly helped him over the years. He knew everything, but he pretended not to, enjoying the benefits I brought him. And that was why he hadn't married Rachel directly. He wanted to find a naive, love-struck rich girl and bleed her dry. But he had miscalculated. The wealthy have sharp eyes. He was not someone they could easily toy with. I watched the calculating look on Ethan's face, betting that he would agree. 50 million was his entire net worth. He would definitely go all in for a bigger prize. Sure enough, he pulled me into his arms. Ava, don't worry. As long as I can be with you, I will go through fire and water for you. I gently traced his face with my finger. I smiled. Really? Liars are supposed to swallow 1,000 needles. You know. A flicker of panic crossed his face. He grabbed my hand. What does that mean? I laughed. Oh, just something I read in a novel. My husband would never lie to me. Right, Ethan. Right. I would never lie to my darling wife. Ugh. Acting with him every day was exhausting. I had to speed things up. Half a month later, my father arranged a dinner. The heir to the Holt Corporation, Damien Holt, was also there. My father glanced at Ethan and reluctantly gestured for him to sit. After a few drinks, he turned to Damien. Young mister, Holt, I'm entrusting my good for nothing son in law to you. I'm getting old, and this company will eventually be Ava's. This project, let them handle it. Damien looked a little disappointed. Mr. Lancaster, are you sure? The investment for this project isn't huge, but the returns are several times over. Such a good opportunity. If it weren't for the relationship between you and my father. My father glared at me. What can I do? Ava is my only child. I have to plan for her future. This young man, Ethan, has had a few years of training. He should be able to handle this project. In the future, the cooperation between the Lancaster and Holt families will depend on him. This speech made Ethan ecstatic. Damien stood up and extended his hand to Ethan. Mr. Vance, I look forward to working with you. Yes. I've heard so much about you. Mr. Holt, the pleasure is all mine. Damien discreetly pulled his hand back, loosened his tie, and excused himself. One dinner, of course, was not enough to convince Ethan, but a trap set by two major corporations, the Lancasters and the Holts, would naturally be seamless. No matter how much he investigated, the information he found would match what we had told him. Soon, the private investigator told me that Ethan had moved Rachel to a new apartment, a rental. He had even sold off all the luxury goods he had bought for her. It was a cruel blow. I would dress in couture, drive the latest sports car, and carry the newest designer bag. I would frequently drop by Ethan's office. Rachel, sitting at her desk outside his office, became a statue of longing. I got a new, even bigger and more expensive diamond ring and deliberately flaunted it in front of her. Secretary Morgan, where's your fake ring? I got a new one. See if the fake goods seller has this model. Will you? If they do, you should buy one too. This one is much prettier. Yes, Rachel said, but her manicured nails were digging into her palms. She had been living a life of luxury with Ethan. Now, the house and the fancy cars were all gone. Even her son had been transferred to a regular elementary school. In contrast, I was driving luxury cars, wearing custom-made clothes, and adorned with even more valuable jewelry. She must have been burning with resentment. I also casually let it slip that Ethan and I were trying for a baby, and that once the child was born, 80% of our assets would be in the child's name. Of course, this was all true. Ethan was a very suspicious person. If my father had accepted him too easily, it would have made him wary. By adding conditions, we made him feel more secure. Rachel collapsed into her chair, looking at me with unwilling eyes. You're trying for a baby? Yes. We've both had check. UPS. If we're lucky, I could be pregnant in a couple of months. Seeing my objective was achieved, I feigned a sudden realization. Oh, look at me. I'm so happy I've lost my head. I'm sorry, Secretary Morgan, for interrupting your work. A woman can endure for love, but a mother will fight to the death for her child. Ethan was hesitant to invest his entire fortune in the Holt project, but Rachel would make him lose his reason. For the next few days, Ethan was swamped with work, coming home exhausted every night. One evening, he returned, sat me down on the sofa, and said in a hoarse voice, Ava, I'm a little short on funds. Could you ask your dad for a loan? We can pay him back double later. He wanted the profits without the risk. That? I want it all. Attitude was really something. But I wasn't going to let him have his way. I pretended to be in a difficult position. It might be hard with Dad. You know he never approved of us. This time, he only agreed because he thinks you're capable. If he finds out we can't even come up with this much, I'm afraid, if we really can't get the money, I'll just tell my dad that we don't have the manpower right now and let him handle the project. The moment I mentioned giving up the Holt project, he waved his hands frantically. No, don't. I'll think of something else. It took so much for your dad to finally accept me. I don't want to disappoint him. Suppressing my disgust, I lay in his arms. You're working so hard. Honey, after the Holt collaboration is over, Dad will have complete confidence in you. Then he'll let you manage the Lancaster Corporation too. At my words, his brow finally smoothed out. His gaze on me grew hazy. His voice was magnetic and soft. Darling, let's have a baby. What? Ever since I found out what he had done, just being in the same room with him made me feel sick. If we were to, I was afraid I would be psychologically scarred. As I was searching my mind for an excuse, Ethan's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and rushed out to the balcony to answer. A moment later, he said to me, "Honey, there's a problem at the office. I have to go." Okay. After that night, all of Ethan's funds were injected into the new project created by the Holt Corporation. For a time, Ethan was on top of the world. Magazine covers were plastered with his story. He gradually lost himself in the whirlwind of high society parties. Damien casually mentioned to him that he really liked him as a partner, even without my father's influence. Ethan also, accidentally, learned that the Great Lancaster Corporation was actually in decline. The reason they had given him the Holt project was because the Lancasters' current cash flow was insufficient to take on Holt's order. The conspirator in him was more willing to believe that my father had been forced to accept him as a son-in-law. Seeing Ethan's rising star, Rachel could no longer sit still. She brought her son to me. "Ava Lancaster, this is my and Ethan's child. Here, the paternity test." I snatched the test, my hand trembling. Slap. I slapped Rachel across the face. "You're lying. This child looks at least 7 or 8. How could he be Ethan's?" Rachel clutched her cheek, a mocking, triumphant look in her eyes. "For setting Ethan up with this deal and giving my son a life of luxury. I'll take that slap. But the truth is the truth, whether you believe it or not. And by the way, the only reason Ethan pursued you was because he knew about your father's identity from the beginning. He did it to give me and our son a better life. Every day he was with you, he was enduring humiliation. Do you know why you don't have a child? It's because he's been swapping your daily vitamins with birth control pills." Boom. A bomb went off in my head. So that was it. No wonder I had been wondering why. Even though we were both healthy, I hadn't gotten pregnant after 6 months. So, ha 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 ha. I was such a fool. "What are you doing?" Ethan came in just as I was in a state of disheveled, tear-streaked grief. He instinctively moved to shield Rachel and her son. "Is what she said true?" Ethan looked away and nodded. "You bastard." I slapped him across the face. As I raised my hand for a second slap, he grabbed my arm viciously. "Ava, that's enough. You haven't lost anything over the years. I've served you like a slave, coddled you, provided you with all the emotional support you needed. We both got what we wanted. Didn't you just want my gentleness and attentiveness? I gave you all of that. What more could you possibly want?" This was the man I had loved for 5 years. We both got what we wanted. How nice. Let's get a divorce. He nodded, as if a great weight had been lifted. "Fine. Ava, thank you for the past 5 years. As for assets, I'm afraid I can't give you anything. You know I've invested all my money in the Lancaster project. Besides, you're not short on cash. I want the apartment we're living in now," I said, my eyes red with determination. Rachel rolled her eyes. "TCH, the richer they are, the stingier they get, haggling over a small 2-bedroom apartment. Just give it to her." Ethan considered a 5-year breakup fee. Ethan nodded. With his self-perceived status, he naturally didn't care about a small apartment. That afternoon, we went to the city hall to register our divorce. I watched their retreating backs. Well, I'll let them have 1 more month of happiness. A month later, with the red divorce certificate in hand, I called Damien. "Thanks for your hard work. Time to reel in the net." From Ethan's perspective, Damien had become a brother to him. In reality, Damien and I had been friends since we were toddlers. The Holt and Lancaster corporations were inextricably linked. A few days later, Holt Corporation announced a strategic error, and the investment was a total loss. The other partners in the project were all wealthy corporations. For them, the money was just the cost of letting the Holt heir play a game. But for Ethan, it was everything he had. Furthermore, all the money except Ethan's was returned to the respective companies. And Ethan's money went into my pocket. It was mine to begin with. The only reason my father had been willing to secretly help Ethan was because he couldn't bear to see me working so hard every day. But Ethan, in his arrogance, believed it was all due to his own brilliant talent. After going bankrupt, Ethan thought of his gullible ex-wife again. "Ava, can you ask Mr. Holt what's going on? The project was going so well. How could it suddenly fail?" "Because you failed," I sneered. "What do you mean?" Ethan Have you ever wondered why the investment Holt needed was exactly 50 million? Why? Because your net worth was exactly 50 million. It was you. He stared at me in disbelief. You and Holt set a trap for me. He was quick. I'll give him that. A pity he was too greedy. Why? Ava, why would you do this to me? He asked, looking wounded, as if I were the one in the wrong. I stood up, my 4-inch heels bringing me to his eye level. Because liars are supposed to swallow 1,000 needles. Have you forgotten? Ethan stumbled back, closing his eyes in defeat. When did you find out? I grabbed his tie, forcing him to look me in the eye. It's all thanks to that $1 million fake you gave me. I was worried your business was in trouble, so I took the ring to sell it and help you. I never imagined. Ethan, you have no one to blame but yourself for what's happened to you. He suddenly collapsed to the floor, wailing. He began to beg me. Ava, I'm sorry. I know it's all my fault, but I worked so hard for so long to get here. For the sake of our 5 years together. Can you help me? Just this once. 5 years together. You mean the 5 years you played me for a fool? I lifted his chin with the toe of my heel. Ethan, if I were you, I would get out of my sight and never come back. Otherwise, you know that when I don't love you, I'm not so easy to deal with. Think about Rachel. Think about your child. Ethan's shoulders slumped, and he nodded. He didn't love me, but he was genuine in his feelings for Rachel and his son. He wouldn't risk his true love. After losing everything, Ethan decided to take Rachel and their son to another city to start over. But Rachel understood that without me, without the resources my father provided, Ethan would never have reached his previous heights, not even in 100 years. She brought her son to beg me. Ava, please go back to Ethan. I'm willing to give him to you. I will cut all ties with him. I only ask that you treat my son well. This person's logic was really something else. Sorry. My family isn't in the garbage collection business. You might want to try somewhere else. Rachel, unwilling to give up, demanded. After 5 years, you couldn't even win a man's heart. Are you really okay with that? Don't you want to make him fall in love with you? If you go back to him now, help him through this, he will definitely fall in love with you. Be like you. I countered. Like you. Giving up a promising future to have a man's child, and then constantly worrying if he'll change his mind. If he'll fall in love with someone else. With that, I turned and walked away without a backward glance, leaving a stunned Rachel behind. The next time I heard about them was 5 years later. I had taken over the Lancaster Corporation and led it to new heights. At a celebration party, I ran into Ms. Davis. She was a little drunk and came over to chat. Ms. Lancaster, you're so lucky you found out about that ungrateful snake Ethan when you did. You won't believe it. He took Rachel to another city, and they could barely make ends meet. Rachel couldn't handle being poor again and ran off with someone else. Ethan is raising the boy all by himself. He's still young, but he's sick and has no money for treatment. The other day, he was crowdfunding on social media. Sigh. Who would have thought that just 5 years ago? He was a celebrated young entrepreneur. I smiled and drained my glass in one go. This was excellent news. It was worth another drink.